Well, thank you for joining the Tuesday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Ozubaku. Today on the program, Professor Yerima brands those seeking to truncate Tinubu's inauguration as cowards, as Agbakuba wants presidential election petition decided before inauguration. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Mayor Akikpelu. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for staying with us. For every offense, there is punishment. The anti-Tinubu passenger aboard the Abuja-Lagos flight, Obiajulu Uja, has been arraigned at a Zuba Magistrates Court, Abuja, and charged with public nuisance, resistance to lawful arrest, threatening, violence, and conduct likely to cause a breach of peace. His lawyer, Ejike Ugwu, noted that his client was admitted at the Muhammadu Buhari Hospital, but that the hospital did not have a psychiatrist, doctor, and psychologist to examine him. Obiajulu has since been remanded in prison custody. Jide, very, very funny. Attempt by some people to make this, look political and give a lot of interpretation to this. The fact is that this man acted and it disturbed the peace of the public, and he has been duly charged. Whoever interest is acting on is going to face, the justice. Going to face justice at the end of the day.
Yes, and that's what we expect to see. This morning I was reading a story which indicated that he had misbehaved while trying to get on another airline, that is aero contractors. And because of that, they didn't board him, and they reported him to NCAA and FAN officials. But it's a matter of shame that somebody who was behaving in a violent manner, that an airline refused to board. After reporting him to the authorities, still found a way to get onto Ibom, another airliner. It shows laxity. It shows that we are not behaving like serious people. If this guy had had a weapon on him that could inflict bodily harm, only God knows what he would have done. He probably would have injured even some of those who arrested him and got him out of the aircraft. We cannot deceive ourselves that it is impossible to hijack an airplane in Nigeria. It has happened before. In 1994, there was a Nigerian airplane that took off from Lagos, was going to Abuja, but was hijacked and redirected to Niger Republic, Niamey, Niger Republic. That was where it eventually landed. And the demands were political. The demands of the people carried out the hijack at that time were political. We are in perilous times. Some people are eating out the polity for reasons best known to them. So it is not impossible, given some of the threats that had been issued, that somebody could even get up and say he's going to hijack a plane. So we have to be careful, we have to be vigilant, and airlines have no reason in the world to board anyone who demonstrates aberrant conduct just before boarding begins. You have to ensure that that person doesn't get onto the plane and put the lives of the pilot, the cabin crew, and other people at risk. This same fellow, I was told that he bought something from a ShopRite in Enugu, and he wanted to pay. He had cash, but he didn't want to pay with his cash, but the network was bad. And instead of returning what he had bought, he just decided to start going home. So they had to restrain him from leaving. So
I think something is wrong with him upstairs.
It's possible. But at the same time, let the investigators do their work. We never can tell what really is the problem with him, but I'm happy that arrest was made and he's been charged, and they didn't really make about it. He's been to behave abnormally, don't get onto an aircraft to do it.
You can't even act anyhow. This is a country that we have rules and regulation. You can't sit down somewhere be asking for interim government. You can't sit down somewhere after election might have been conducted. You can't say the election should be cancelled. There's some things that no.
Yeah, in the case of this guy, first I want to blame authorities at the airport, because if an airline refuses to board a passenger and they make complaints to the airport authority, that guy should have been arrested and questioned. For them to allow him to move away to another airline to buy a ticket was a breach, a security breach. And I think the airport authority should be more, it's not good for everybody, because somebody like that have shown traces of violence and was refused and was not, and an airline refused to board him, should not be allowed to even near an airline. That is one. Two, the guy is even very lucky that the accusation against him is public disturbance, public peace, and all that. Because what he has done is act of terrorism. Since 9/11, it has been established that if you do an untoward behavior in an airline, it's a terrorist act. So he's very, very lucky. You can't do that in the U.S. and
so they'll fire himself.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Remember
in the US.
The one in the train?
Yes.
They didn't even wait for anything.
You can't do that and hold down a plane. Since
some Nigerians are saying that this was stage managed, that this man, couldn't have been from.
No, that's a very stupid thing to say. Because we're in a period where a lot of people are put emotions into the way they think, and they arrive at conclusion when there is something. Instead of everybody to blame someone for bad behavior and condemn it, they are trying to spin it just because the guy was talking, the things that the guy was saying. You understand? Because one, people should know that it's either we want democracy or not. All these characters and their supporters who are saying things that are undemocratic, we have to know whether we want democracy or not. The foundation of democracy is the rule of law. So when there is an election has a process. When INEC, the umpire that is conducting the election, announce a winner, it is binding. What you need to do, if you don't agree with that, is to go to court. You go to the appeal court, which is the first tribunal in the first instance, and if you don't agree with whatever ruling you get there, you go to the Supreme Court. To sit in your house and say, oh, you don't recognize an election, or that somebody should not be sworn in, or that that there should be an interim government, or some idiots who do not even understand how we got this democracy in the first place, will go to front of defense headquarters and be appealing to the military to intervene, kneeling down to that they should intervene. They didn't even understand how we got to this where we are. So it's so sad that people who are politicians who are supposed to control their supporters seems not to be bothered, and that is not right, because we should not lose this democracy. The election that people will be angry about any election is part of it. United States of America is over 300 years. Their democracy is over 300 years. The last election, Trump and his supporters did not accept it. The election in Brazil, the defeated president did not accept the election. So it's no big deal that you think an election did not favor you. There is a process. And that's the only process you can follow. You cannot sit in your house and determine that, oh, the election, I'm not accepting that election. You are not INEC. So you're not in a position to determine whether an election is fair or fair.
All right. The trapped funds of foreign airlines in Nigeria